We are live. So, welcome once again to the Creator Owned Comics YouTube channel. It's been a little while. I had big plans and windows are popping up all over the place. Okay, go away. Yeah, we're going to do one-on-one interviews. Sometimes I'll be joined by my group moderators. If you're just viewing this and don't know, I have a Facebook group, Creator Owned Comics. You can join if you're a comic maker. There's a couple of questions I ask just to make sure you're legit. But yeah, so we'll be doing interviews here, and we'll be doing like maybe mini creative hangouts in the and we're rolling out something for next week, possibly. Jason Webb knows somebody who knows somebody. But today we have with us Todd Mulrooney. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Glad to be here.
So for just a kind of overview for anybody who doesn't know your name, tell us a little about yourself and what you're up to.
I began drawing comics probably when I was, like a lot of people, when I was very young. I did the whole thing eventually when I got to be about 18. I think the first time I showed any art to a professional was Sam Keith, and it was in Florida. And it was one of those things where I really wasn't, there was a lot going on in Florida. I was going there to college, and, I was young. But when I heard there was a convention and who was going to be there, I thought, oh, let me throw some stuff together. And so I quickly, learned that the right paper, the right this, the right that, because before you see these things live, I had been to conventions, but nobody really had like Neil Adams artwork and things like that all over the place. And I really wasn't, it was just more of a less as a fan, they might be a mall convention or something like that. So this was something a little bigger. And I showed my work there, and that was when I was young. So I kind of dabbled in and out. And when I came back from Florida, I got serious about it, and spent a good number of years really kind of knuckling down. I had some great, I'd call them mentors, guys that you would continuously meet up with in New York. Jerry Ordway, Chuck, I'm going to botch his name, Wojciechowicz.
Yeah, I know his work.
But did I botch his name really badly?
I probably, but I would probably botch it too. So,
and I feel for that. And of course, I used to show my work to Joe Casada and
right.
Nelson. Nelson was a teacher at the New York School Academy, right? Arts Academy or
Nelson DeCastro.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. School of Visual Arts, maybe?
Yes, School of Visual Arts.
Yeah. Is that Parsons? I think. I forget.
Yeah. Anyway, these are the guys that kind of would give me time. I was very lucky. I had a clean cut look. I'd go in like a tracksuit to these things. So, I was very relaxed, because I got to tell you, that kind of helped, really, because there were guys like Mark Beecham who dressed, Duster jacket and Dr. Martens, that they wouldn't let behind. They wouldn't even talk. I mean, you're talking about a fantastic artist, really one of the top guys. I think he did some work at Continuity, and so he had to have Neil Adams training, because there was a brief period where kind of everyone kind of looked like, out of Continuity, everyone kind of looked like Neil Adams a little bit. So you can kind of tell that his hand was in on a lot of things. So I got lucky. I was able to go behind the line, sit. So I had that sort of mentorship. I had guys who, like Chuck, would draw on my photocopies. correct my heads, tilt them right, whatever. And I eventually got to that point where they said, okay, you got everything except gesture. Not everybody stands like this all day, like they're ready to fight. And
Right.
once I got through that, um, I started getting some offers for work and things like that. And when you're young in the business, when you're young in the business, a lot of things that go badly. Sometimes you're working with an upstart company like Full Moon, and things go really bad, or sometimes you're kind of taken advantage of, or your artwork never sees the light of day. So I had that, I had all that, and then I didn't draw for a while, and only for myself for years until about 5 years ago. And I started drawing again, and really frustrating because I was trying to master some things I had never had, like a brush, a nib, Hunt 102s, and I was really trying to get them down. Um, and it was futile. But futile because I didn't have anybody to, like, you go and you watch Richard Friend, and you can learn how you hold a brush and how you do this, and how you're putting your finger on the page to get a straight, things like that you can't figure out on your own. There's just no doing it unless
Yeah.
you get the schooling, or unless you get someone to show you, a proper way to hold a brush, proper way to use a nib. Who even knew about treating nibs, like bending them and flexing them, and getting them just right so that they work. You can predict how they work, because in the
Right.
beginning they're just cutting into the paper, and so you really get them flexed out. So I didn't know this stuff. So I would draw something, ink it, go down for dinner, come back and go, oh my God, this is terrible. So you'd see some things you did wrong in a pencil stage, you'd see some things you did wrong or badly inked. Just didn't, you couldn't put what was going on in your head down onto the paper. So I went digital, and everything changed after that, including my eyesight. So digital, really just gave me confidence, right? You get confidence when you're not throwing paper away and crumpling it
Right.
up, getting mad, and like standing over it and going, what? Because when you change levels, everything changes, right? So you're standing over it and go, God, I was hunched down and I was drawing. This isn't even the right perspective. So go digital. You can send it to your phone. I used to look at it on an iPad, this, that, and everything. Changes really the whole game as far as getting better and gaining confidence, because if there's something you see, no matter what stage it's in, it can all be fixed. So I blossomed late. I mean, I blossomed as a pro late, as a person who's viable to do whatever, and so I about a couple years ago, I worked with Paul Kupperberg on a book. They
Right.
do this. They work out of this Charlatan Neo, and it's, if you're familiar, what they do is keep Steve Ditko's creations alive. So you
Okay.
see the derivatives and things like that, and some of the original characters, and Joe Staten is over there doing E-Man and things like that. So it's much about keeping something from the past keep going. I mean, obviously
Right.
you can't do Blue Beetle or something like that, but there's still characters there that they can still do. So they do a lot of that. So I did blank. Blank. What was blank? Blank was a derivative of the question. I didn't
Right.
want him in a duster jacket or a detective jacket. When you're a kid looking at comics, everyone's wearing a detective jacket. So I didn't want him in that. I put him in a nice suit, a fedora, and I made his mask chrome. So
Oh.
when the villain or the person he's fighting was looking at him, they were seeing themselves. So it added a dimension to the character. So Paul loved it, and we did some stuff together, and that's kind of my first. Outside of some covers, I did some novel covers and things like that, like Mike W. Barr's first prose novel, Once a Wizard, and I did a cover for James Hudnall. But this was my first published sequentials in years. other than some garage comics kind of thing. You know what I mean? That's technically what they were. Now we're turning that into a whole freaking business, right? We're whether you call them boutique comics, or artisan comics, or craft comics, it's self-publishing. Like your
Yeah.
Facebook thing is creator owned, and the creators are coming out of everywhere. Very talented. You see people, you're like, where was Marvel when they were picking these guys who kind of look like they do coloring book style, where it's a really thick outline and very minimal inside? Where, why are they taking this guy over some of the stuff we see? And it's granted it's baffling, but it's a revolution. It's an
Yeah.
independent comic revolution, and crowdfunding has changed the game. Self-publishing has changed over the years.
Yep.
And the content you can get versus the content that people complain about, like, this stuff isn't for me. I'm not. I mean, some of it I read and some of it's still good. You take 100 books that come out tomorrow, right, on Wednesday, and I guarantee there's 20 good, great ones in there. You just got to find them out. I can tell you Jerome Opina's uh, um, uh, Seven to Eternity, fantastic book. So they're
Yeah.
there, but not like it used to, where everything was awesome, everything was great. And the hands that were on that were kind of minimal. Like John Burns doing 3 books and Simonson's doing 2 and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
you had the heyday of really great stuff, but now I think the heyday is in crowdfunding. Great things are being produced by new creators. And it's
Yeah.
not that they're not talented to work at Marvel or whatever. Maybe it's about owning your own IP and owning your own work and creating your own destiny. You know?
Yeah. Wait, um, I mean, for as long as I've been reading comics, there have been indie comics, and there have been great ones. It's a lot easier for people to make their own books now, get them published. There's plenty of sites and places to go, get them printed up, and get them out to fans. Back then, it was a lot harder. It was a lot less, uh, things available to people, and spreading the word is a lot easier now with the internet and all that. Um, but yeah, I mean, everything's sort of a mixed bag. Like, with Marvel and DC, it's a mixed bag about the quality. There's excellent independence out there. There's also mediocre or whatever, but it's great to see so many creators, wanting to do this and just doing it. Just, if they have a day job or whatever, they do it in their free time, evenings, weekends, whatever. There's people doing it full time. There's people out on YouTube, trying to get the word out that they're working on books. And there's definitely an excitement, regardless of the whole global stuff that's going on right now with Corona and all that. The future's unsure, but I think we'll get past this. We'll survive, and it's about making sure your local comic stores don't go out of business, so that we have places to send our comics, and just plugging away at what we love and what we're doing here. I want to mention really quick. I put it as a comment below the video, your link to Florida Man on Indiegogo. I'll put a whole bunch of links to your work, above and beyond just the Florida Man Indiegogo link. But how's that going so far? Because I looked at it a couple of days ago. What's the latest on that?
We're fully funded.
Yeah.
Two nights ago, right? The project manager IMs me and says, "Hey, go in here and share this," and sends me a link, and I go, "Oh, let's Reddit." Oh boy. And I go in there and I try to find it and stuff like that, even though I have the link and it's been taken down. But eventually I found it, right? And it quickly sends me, "Hey, he shows me I've been banned. I've been banned for life."
That's
There's no,
crazy.
yeah, there's Chris the project manager runs a what you call like a I used to call them trade magazines, like Wizard and Hero, and those things were trade magazines to me. So these are trade magazines on the net,
Yeah.
CER, Bleeding Cool, IGN, and he runs Bleeding Fool, which is sort of obviously it's a parody. There's a slant over here at Bleeding Cool, and he kind of does an opposite slant. So he has a sympathetic site towards creators that they call Comics Game.
Right.
So that got him banned. Okay, I got that post. I tried to post or share it. I got banned, but I didn't get banned for life. But I've actually shared Florida Man in what's called a Florida Man subreddit,
Right.
and I've not gotten in any kind of trouble or any kind of messages or notifications, so it's fine. So that created sort of some in the comic book industry, national news. You know, you're getting all these trade magazines that we talked about. Now they're covering this story. Oh, they're censoring Mike Barron because
Right.
Mike Barron, veteran, right?
Yeah.
And to come full circle about independent comics, let me back up just a little bit, and we'll come back to
Okay.
the Reddit thing and what it did for us. Um, like you said, you were into independent comics. I quickly, as I grew up, started getting into my 16, 17. I got into independent comics because I had a really cool association with the store and the the guy that ran it, and he saw my taste and he saw how where I started, and as I got older where I was gravitating towards what books were interesting me and stuff. So he started pushing me. We got Michael Zulli's Puma Blues and Straight Toasters and different things, and I was reading all the Aircell books, but I owned and read every Nexus book
Yeah.
that ever came out because I was a huge fan of Nexus. One, it looked beautiful, even beautiful when Steve Rude did it, and even when he had some guest fill-ins because he might have been doing something else in animation.
Right.
Garcia Lopez and guys like that, always fantastic. So that was the independent comic, by the way, that put independent comics sort of in the forefront because and I'll give this a little preface of all this. Um, Independent comics didn't get big sales. They didn't hit in the top 10 or they didn't even
No.
hit in the top 20. But there were plenty of them. You had Warp, you had E-Man, you had a bunch of charlatan characters still kind of around in different forms. You had Dreadstar and things like that before it went to Marvel and it was
Right.
picked and done through Epic. But these were kind of independent books. Um, Then Nexus starts selling sales figures that equaled the X-Men and Teen Titans and Simonson's Thor. Top 3, 4, 5 books of that era. Teen Titans was a huge book.
Right.
I mean, I
Yeah.
don't know if people realize is that Superman and Batman kind of got stale and kind of boring. And Teen Titans was one of their top sellers. One of their top sellers, and only that, it had 2 books a month, and one of them was a reprint. Like it was like 5 years behind, so they were getting good sales on a reprint book. Really
Yeah.
weird, but the Nexus was hitting the same figures in the top 10. Independent comics are now on the map. What do you have after that? Obviously, you have everything that comes out of Northampton, Massachusetts, where I'm from, and you have the Turtles and the Bodies and the Bassettes
Mhm.
and Wrightsons, all from this era doing some of the greatest independent stuff ever done. Uh, um, I mean, obviously, you saw what happened with the Turtles.
Yeah.
Um, so you have an explosion. So here we come to this, back to the Reddit and what happened. We got YouTubers, some really good YouTubers that have huge platforms, big channels. They're going, whoa, look what happened to Mike Barron. Look what Reddit did. They banned this book for life. This moderator, some moderator, one person did this. Goes wild. Now we got one of them has like over 30,000 views and stuff. People When you try to cancel something like a comic, when you try to
Yeah.
cancel somebody like Mike Barron, cancels cash. And our book went from 45 uh, percent funded to 88% funded before I went to bed. Woke
Hmm.
up 2 hours later, it's fully funded.
Yeah.
This is exactly what happened. Mike Barron does not deserve that. Mike Barron has no association, no claim to anything to do with Comicsgate. He's always been a guy who's just here to entertain you, write stories. He writes novels. He doesn't. He doesn't uh, mix in with the crowd of a lot of those top creators. Who have the YouTube channels. That's not Mike Barron. You don't see Mike Barron over there. It's
No.
and he'll go there to promote his own book, but he's not hanging out. He's all he's doing is selling his product to the people who want it. And for him to get sort of treated that way, well, hey, it turned out okay for us, but
Yeah.
it's definitely not fair. Do I have sort of a loose association with Comicsgate? I do. I There's a blacklist, and I have it, and there's a lot of names on it. And I ended up on it for one reason. I was not a big fan of there being a Gwen Stacy. To me, the Gwen Stacy moment is the moment after Ben, right? What this sets up Spider-Man to go, oh my God, there's a lot at stake here. Now he goes, oh my God, they'll come after people I love. So these are two pivotal moments. With great power comes responsibility. And Gwen Stacy being like there's three different versions. There's a Gwenpool, Ghost Spider, Spider Gwen. It's to me, it just besmirches what was created by Steve Ditko in that moment. So I was against it. I called her an abomination. It didn't go favorably for me, so I got put on this list. But that's it. That's all.
Mm.
I did win a contest to work on a book. That would be considered a CG book by John Malin and Mark Polton. I won a
Right.
contest and I did 20 pages in a book called Graveyard Shift.
Yep.
But that, you to me was a learning experience. I loved the chance to do it. Working with John was great. I wouldn't trade it for anything. To know that it's the first time I've been put under the knife of a deadline. Like, hey, you want to make some bonuses? Bonuses are available. Make this deadline, that kind of thing.
Right.
So I'd never experienced that, and you have to rise to that challenge because this is a grind. It's not like everyone. A lot of people who do this don't do this full time. It's kind of a part-time thing.
Yeah.
So when you're put under that kind of thing, that knife of a deadline, it shows you a lot about what really this industry is about. Can you do it? Can you handle it? That kind of thing. So out of the 20 pages, I probably did 10 of them, inside of a day, inside of maybe 16 hours, because I was penciling and inking my own work. So
Mm.
16 hours on a page, I did in a day. Because I got a late start. I was on a crowdfunder that didn't fund, but I lost about uh, 10 days with that. We're trying to get that going and
Right.
campaigning for that. So when I got to my pages for Graveyard Shift, I didn't have the whole 60 days that we were given, but I still made my deadline, and I learned a lot about deadlines and how to budget your time. I got a big whiteboard right here, and how to
Right.
budget time and budget what you need to do and what's your responsibilities are as an artist.
Yeah.
Because if you do want to work outside of for yourself, um, there's always going to be a deadline. And granted, there might be some leeway for somebody coming in and figuring it out, but they're not going to look at me like that. If I ever wanted to work for anybody that's a midline publisher or mainstream publisher, they're going to
Right.
think my age and you've done it. You should know a little bit about deadlines. Get to it. So I'll definitely have to make it. So here we are with Florida Man, and Florida Man is fully funded. Um, Mike Barron's script is amazing. This is a great book. This doesn't slot anywhere like most books. Like it's not superheroes, and it's comedy. You would put it in comedy, but it's not written comedy. It's not funny lines and cliches and one-liners. It's not. The situations are funny. Gary Dubba, our protagonist, our main character, who's got sort of a problem with his temper and kind of in the wrong place at the wrong time. Well, this is what this is about. Gary Dubba is having a bad day every day. And that's where we're at. We're going to bring this story. It's an amazing script. Hope. I mean, I'm ecstatic about being fully funded. I can't wait to start uh, pushing myself to make every page better, because I'm like every other artist. The page you're on is always your best, and you don't even want to look. You don't want to look at yesterday's page. You hate it
Yeah.
when you're on the newest page. So I'm just like the rest of the guys. You're just trying to grind away.
So what's the scope? Is it an ongoing series, a graphic novel, a miniseries? What is what is
What we're
Florida Man?
crowdfunding, what we're crowdfunding is a graphic novel.
Oh, okay.
Mike came to me about a year and 3 months ago to with the idea, and he had 5 full scripts and wanted, can you create some characters? I had some bios that I went with, and did 3 pages. 3 pages were done. Mike used his connections to shop them around. Dark Horse, obviously, where he had been ingrained for many years and stuff like that. And
Yep.
nobody really bought into the Florida Man idea, because our character Gary is the quintessential Florida Man, right? All of these stories that become memes and headlines, and you hear it, or you see it, and you're like, "What's in the water? What the heck?" Well, Gary is the perpetrator of all these things in theory. You know what I mean? He's not. We're not going to write a book about every single one of them. He's not going to rape an alligator or anything like that. So it's just the idea of the quintessential person who's kind of always having these bad days. Gary's in and out of jail. He's got a shady lawyer. Um, his girlfriend does something that makes her famous, kind of infamous famous, which gets her noticed by a promoter who wants to put her in wrestling. She ends up turning her amateur career into a pro career, ends up in a big match. I don't want to give too much away, but you got
Yeah.
wrestling, you got her training with a bear, you got jail, you got Patrice, who's a trans male prostitute, dresses as a woman,
Right.
um, who Gary eventually befriends, and helps him change into a woman. So the guy's got a heart of gold. He's uh, a bit off, um, because you that book is not true. Execution, it is Gary. Gary, the bio kind of was a skinhead. And I said, well, I don't want to make him a white skinhead, so I gave him a little Cuban, because in Florida there was a huge Cuban population, sugarcane
Right.
field. And the rum running and all those days of the Italians going down there and taking over. We all know about that, right?
Yeah.
In Sarasota, Florida, and stuff. So this is I chose to keep with the bio, but give him a little flavor. Floyd, who really looks like a Florida man with the mullet and stuff like that. He's got a little bit of Irish. His hair is a ginger. Crystal's beautiful girl, who dresses in Daisy Dukes and uh, ties her shirt up, so she's always seems like she's in a half top. So it has a lot of stereotypical things in it, but by far not a book of disparaging, uh, a subculture of people. Not by any means.
Right. Right. Now you sent me. Let me see if I could do this. Share. Where'd it go? Stop sharing. I thought I had it here before. I'm still new here. I guess. Why does it say? Oh, I'm already sharing a window. That's why. Hmm.
So when you hit screen share, it'll pull up almost
This
like
is
a
weird.
pop-up,
Okay.
and you got to pick whether, I don't know if you have
Yeah.
one or two screens or what going, but
Let me see. I'm not. All right. Let me stop sharing. Maybe that's. I don't. Hopefully, they were seeing us.
oh, I can go. I'm
Okay.
actually
Let's.
over there. Yeah, they're seeing us.
Oh, okay. Let me try this again. And this? No. I got my. Oh, okay, I got this open. Here we go. Go here. Technology. Okay, here we go. Let's see if this works right. You see the right thing? Hopefully.
Yeah, you're on a bunch of pictures that I sent you.
You just seeing? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. Does it? Am I getting it? Do you see this? Here, let's see if it pops up. Okay. Do you see that?
Well, I see you
It's
highlighting
another one
something.
popping up.
I'm not seeing that. I'm just seeing what you're highlighting.
Okay. Maybe I have to switch the window. Let's see if I can do this again. Share
Do you?
application. Oh, I see. Here we go. There we go. You see it now. You should be able to see it. This is your artwork from Florida Man.
Yes, that is a exclusive
Yes.
postcard that if you pre-signed up, that you'll get free, right? And it'll be part of, if you want five. There's like a set of 5 postcards. If you want to add them on to any tier that you buy, you could also get this. So it's free to, I think we had about 130 some odd people who pre-signed up, and they'll be getting this free. So it was also what we used to try out colorists. We had about 5 different people color this, and Ixan knocked it out of the park.
Cool. So who's this character? The girl?
That's Crystal, the one that ends up becoming a wrestler.
And
Her
in the
boyfriend,
background.
her boyfriend in the background in the water is Gary, and that's
Okay.
Floyd in a chair. And what he's doing is kind of making binocular goggles.
Right.
The gator,
I got that.
the gator is there. The gator is not, it's not like a enemy gator or killer gator. This gator is friendly. Well,
Oh, okay.
obviously not too friendly.
And no parking on the nude beach. Another
Just a promo, just an idea I
promo.
have.
Okay.
Basically, while I've been drawing pages and stuff, I've been taking out things and like, oh, I can turn this into an asset. Whether it's a certain look or like Gary shows the lawyer his phone because he shows him the house suspenders that he's come up with that'll keep your house on the ground no matter what storm comes. And so when I saw that I had done that, I basically just took that out, duplicated that layer and put it to the side, and eventually made something out of it. So I've been doing this all along, making these little, things that kind of help promote.
Yeah.
You've seen, if you pay attention every day, every day I'm doing something, using my talent to promote the book,
Yep.
whether I'm making memes, I'm putting people the Florida Man shirt on people. I did today. I did a tattoo. I haven't showed that yet. These are just fun way. They're quick, by the way. Making these type of things. If the person has a solid color shirt, very easy to put the PNG of Florida Man right on there. If a person's on an isolated background, no matter what color it is, very easy to turn that into they're standing in front of the poster or something like that. So stuff is so easy. You can do it
Yeah.
inside of 10 minutes. And it's just way to have fun, right? I'm having fun.
Yeah, it's all promotional. I mean, you gotta reach as wide an audience as possible, and if people see the same image over and over, they'll, that's nice. you know.
Oh, exactly. Because in the
So
beginning, all you have is what you originally did, and you people probably got a little bit sick of it. So this is just great, and every day I'm doing a few little things here and there, um, and it's just fun, you know.
that guy reminds me of like one of the actors from Breaking Bad, the Spanish guys.
Oh yeah. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
They're actually, I've been throwing everything in here that I can, and it doesn't show you, but the lawyer's office, Habib Rodriguez, the lawyer's office, is the Krusties, which they used as the chicken place, El
Okay.
Pollo. So
Right.
I actually made that his office and put the
Hmm.
billboard on top of it. Let's see what other things I've done. Oh, I've been using all these kind of great cars from the past, things that I've always liked, or when you see a muscle car or you see a Westphalia, like that you'll see if you. I think I sent that you to. A Westphalia is that wagon, Volkswagen wagon that would pop up, like a camper. So all these things to me were always
Right.
like it's like something different. And all the sedans that you see today, they all look the same. You can't really even tell them apart. But man, back in the day, we had it was like art. These cars are like art because
Yeah.
they stood out. This one's beautiful. This one's beautiful because it has these fins. This one's beautiful because it has this V back window. This one's beautiful because the front scoops like this. I just don't have that. So I'm gonna be throwing everything I can in here.
Yeah. So I'm just flipping through these so people can get a chance to check it out. It's another ad you did. It's cool. Back it on Indiegogo. But very nice work. It's really, really good. It's a Time magazine cover. And that's it. Yeah, that was the so we're back. But yeah, it looks really good, and it's funny. I'm living out in Kentucky, but I have three older brothers. Jimmy, everybody knows Jimmy.
Yeah.
They're all living in Florida, so I thought of them when I saw the title of the book. It's like,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
they can relate.
You know what's funny, Jimmy? Jimmy looks now he looks like he lives in Florida, doesn't he? He's
Yeah,
wearing the Tommy Bahama shirts, so he definitely looks like he lives there. And by the way, one time when I went to New York City, uh, I was talking with Nelson, and someone came by and said, "Oh, we're having this thing at Openers. It'll be this time." Da 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 da. And he looked at me and he heard, so he knew I overheard. And he's like, "You want to go? You want to meet some people?" I'm like, "Yeah, awesome. I'll go." You know, and didn't know what Openers was. I was staying at the Twin Towers Marriott. I go
okay.
there. Everybody who I ever like, there's Frank Miller, Walt Simonson. The room was filled with legends. The guys today are legends. You know what I mean? Today they were. I mean, then they were working guys that worked monthly, but today they are absolutely legendary. And I'm at this party, and boy, did I feel so out of place. But I was lucky to be there. Absolutely lucky to be there.
Yeah, I mean, openers was a regular thing. I was at a lot of them, not everyone, but I remember meeting Mike McDonald there for the first time back in the day. Obviously, it's like I knew my brother's circles of friends, but even like their circles and their circles showed up, and everybody congregated over there, and it was always a good time. Joe's place was like around the corner, basically. Um,
You know, you know how I got to get a little bit of time with Joe? Because back when I was bringing my work, Joe and Jimmy were going around like rock stars, all these conventions, right? I mean, really, when you say that to them, they don't even get it. But they were like rock stars. They had the biggest space. The freaking event thing was huge. Well, I got to know Joe Delfini. And it was through that sort of circle
yeah,
that hey, look at his, give him some time, look at his stuff. So I was lucky.
yeah,
Nelson and Joe Delfini were the guys that kind of angled me in there.
yeah. Jimmy's best buddy back in Brooklyn, Joe Delfini, great guy. Um, Used to work a lot with models, figures, paint
Hmm.
figures, and all that stuff. But he's a funny guy. Um, and a little known fact is I came up with the name Ash for their superhero. Fighting superhero. Um, but yeah, they are legends for sure. And they're still doing pretty good for themselves.
For sure.
Yeah.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, it's like I mentioned before, I grew up on a lot of independent comics. I was mostly focused as like a Marvel Comics zombie, as a lot of my friends were at the time. But
Hmm.
I explored stuff outside of mainstream, and picked up like Distant Soil was one of them. Clean Duran. Nexus was one. Did you have the very first black and white issue of Nexus?
Yeah, that was in an anthology, right?
No, it was by itself. It was I forget if it was just Nexus #1 or whatever, but it was black and white before they went.
Was it Pacific Comics?
You know what? I have to remember when I left New York. I gave everything away, so I don't even have a copy of it anymore.
Oh,
Um,
gee.
but possibly, maybe not, maybe not.
Yeah, there were five times it appeared, 5 issues or so that it appeared in black and white
Yeah,
before it.
I just
I
thought
think it got.
it was before he like really got really good, so it was like a little stiff and clunky, his artwork, but I thought it was
Hmm.
gorgeous.
Yeah.
um, but like my brother was picking up Cerebus, which was another big title at the time. A little later was Bone. There's so many great independent comics of the past, um, and so many great ones today. And like you said, many of them can be found on Kickstarter and Indiegogo and all that. Um, so, where do you see yourself in 5 years?
Hmm.
Let's go with that
Good
question.
question. Good question. I hope to be doing this, right? Um, let's project a little bit. Obviously, we're fully funded, so we're at a point where anyone who buys it is going to get everything that they ordered. Okay, that's where we're at.
Yeah.
Go past that, and then me, Mike, and Chris Braley, we start making money. But right now, we're just at that level where you're putting it's in your hands. You're gonna get it. Gonna get finished, and you're gonna get it. So project it out. It does. It's doing really well. Every time I look, it goes up. Um, Maybe there's something to it, to be honest, because I've always been kind of that person who goes, "Geez, you can't keep doing this forever. You know what I mean? There was obviously no. You got to either have the cachet to do it forever, and everyone that you entertain and you please will keep following you to where you go. And I don't have that yet, but maybe through this I do. Uh, Graveyard Shift 2 is in fulfillment, so I've seen people getting their boxes and opening them. Hopefully, I'll get some feedback about the part I did in that, and become a better artist from that feedback. But yeah, so there's no guarantee, that we'll get to a point where I could sit here and go, okay, that was a positive thing. Everything that I needed and expected came out of that. I can keep rolling along and doing this, and start building, a base, um, and eventually do it myself. Right? You take the model of whether it's uh, Coffin Comics with Brian Polito,
Yep.
or anyone else. These guys, they're telling you, gotta create a mailing list. You gotta create a base. You gotta create, do I have time to do YouTube all day? Do I have time to do all these things all day? I really don't. But I'm set up to do all these things. I've done YouTube. I have my own channel. I even started a co-op network with a bunch of guys that I thought the idea was to build a channel which would create a big audience where you had 10 guys, 20 guys rowing. And
Right.
anytime somebody needed that audience, they would come in and they would row for the time that they were campaigning. That was the idea. We couldn't get enough people to row. We had guys who wanted to be part of it, but they didn't want to row. So it was like two or three of us rowing, and we were on every night. It's like being part of a network show. You're on every night. You're doing 2 or 3 hours. You're doing prep. You're making thumbnails. It's not easy. So that's the time to do this and talk with you. That's the easy part. But
Yeah.
it's creating a thumbnail, using all now you're doing social media all over the place and WordPress. I was even on WordPress. Um, it's a game. And hopefully I can find some kind of balance where I do all those things and keep up with them as much as I can, and do some YouTube
Yeah.
and create that base. I mean, yeah, I'll know whether I create a base or not. You know what I mean? 2 or 3 times out. And if I don't, then I'm gonna have to do children's. You go a different way. You start,
Yeah.
hey, if you're gonna stay in the art game and keep doing this, and that may not be the option. But right
Yeah.
now, it's good. Florida Man has some publishers that are. There's some publishers that are asking about it. They're inquiring about it, right? And here's the thing: what people may not realize about Florida Man is the merchant. When merchandise merchandises itself, right? You
Right.
create a good logo. Our logo's top notch. You do these things like I've been doing. You put them on a shirt, you put them on wherever, you put them on hats. When the merchandise merchandises itself, sells itself, people go, that's not that's not grotesque looking, or it's not a huge shirt. I don't have a character. I used to have the Ash shirt, by the way, beautiful shirt.
Yeah.
But people go, okay, I could see that, or you even put it on a little spot over here in a
Yeah.
polo, and you're wearing them to a convention, and you're selling different things. So once a publisher realizes that the Florida Man thing, all you gotta do is hashtag it, this and the other thing. It's getting seen very wide and far. That's not saying that everyone that's seeing it is into comics, but you have the help of a
Yeah.
publisher and a marketing plan and some advertising. You're golden, because the merchandising, that just the things we even have on the man. We had so many ideas. You can't put them all there, right? But
Yeah.
we, we've actually have some things that you don't see, because I really pushed for this being square bound. I don't know if you know who Doug Tenaple is, but he said,
Yeah.
don't give them a comic, give them a book for their shelf. Give them
Yeah.
something that they'll go back to. If they put it in a box, they'll never go back to it. I never went back to any of mine. I don't go back to mine, but I have a row right in front of my computer of all these hardcover graphic novels, like for instance, Craven's Last Hunt.
There
You
you
know what I mean?
go.
Mike Zeck and J.M. Diamantis. So these things, I go back to, they're there. I pick them up. Quesada's Marvel book is there too.
There you go.
The art of Quesada. So
I got
I
some
wanted to
books
give them,
back
I
here.
wanted to give them something that go on the shelf.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So we're hoping to get it to even there's some stretch goals that are hidden. We could get it to a hardcover. We could get it up to about 64 pages of story and 80 pages of a few extras and stuff. And that's what we want. But there's some also things that we're going to do. We're going to fill that box and you're going to be surprised because that's another thing that Doug does. You open the box, Bigfoot Bill's in there, and he's got cards you didn't buy, you got postcards you didn't buy, you got bookmarks you didn't buy, because he's giving you an experience. And this is
Yeah.
basically what this is, breaking that veil between creator and fan and giving you something because you appreciate what I'm doing. You appreciate the work, you appreciate the book, you love the story. This is a great book. So these are things that are very key to who I am and why I would do this. There's just, if wasn't no way around it. I wanted some certain things to be a part of it. Kept pushing for them. I didn't have to push hard. They knew, I mean, you can't crowdfund floppies. You can't ask people to pay $7.99 and then $12 to ship you something, because then you're going, what? Doesn't make any sense. It costs more to ship it than it costs to buy it. So what you got to give them is an experience, a book, a graphic novel that they can go back to, reread, lend out. It stands the test of time because it's sturdy. It's got a good cardstock cover, or even better, and that's what we're all about, is giving people something they'll be appreciative of.
Yeah. Most definitely. I personally think floppies can be Kickstarter, but that's just me. But um,
You think
so
one could, or could you do five different creators, five different books?
no, I think you can pretty much crowdfund like an ongoing series, like doing issue by issue and crowdfund it. I mean, that is, even though every issue is numbered number one, that is what Brian and Coffin Comics is doing. From what I see, I didn't read too deeply into his
Isn't
Kickstarter.
it have they done anything less than 40 pages though? I don't think you're doing a 22 pager.
Well, 22 pages for 40 pages, it's still, like, to me, a graphic novel is over 100 pages.
Mm-hmm.
So I consider that a thick floppy, you know. But
Okay.
I think you can, like, do like I plan to do like a 25-page ongoing series, and
Mm-hmm.
um I think it can be done. I've had some challenges these past year, but I did crowdfund my first issue, which I'm currently working on, which is not the way to do it, but I'll get it done and get it out in people's hands, and then do issue 2 down the line, and so on.
So that book that people are waiting on, how many pages is it?
It was going to be it's 28-page story. It's Originally it was going to be 32 pages, but because people have been waiting, I figure I'll do 40. Um, give them a little extra, and plus it will come with prints and some other stuff. Um, and so I'm working on the issue and trying to make a living at the same time. I got a graphic novel I'm working on now that I was paid 15 years ago to work on, and it's a long story, but such is the world of working in independent comics. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
things go awry, and other things come back into your life, after dying previously. But yeah, so uh, it's definitely the smart way to do it is to get the book done and then crowdfund it.
Yeah. We I have about 10 pages done, and because I'm not, I'm not being paid, right? I'm not a paid employee, part
Right.
owner. So we don't have that kind of a situation where um like we're paying our colorists, we're paying the letterer, but
Yeah.
me, it's what's here after this point, partly yours. So I couldn't sit here and draw and then it only funds, and draw 56 pages. And it's still really a gamble to not, to be a part owner of something. So it's really kind of a gamble in that sense that we really needed to do well for me to really not get beat up by my wife and have to sleep outside.
But I
Because
mean, to your advantage, you sound like you're pretty fast. So you know,
I'm I am fast. I was, I can be fast. And I'll knuckle myself down and get myself to the point where uh, my production is about 3 to 4 pages fully inked a week. That's not a problem.
you
It's just a matter of, okay, we're there now. You got to do it. You can't let
know.
anybody down, and so you do it. So that's not an issue.
Yeah.
Uh, and I relish that and sort of work better like that. I mean, the deadline that I had with Graveyard Shift 2, when it got closer and stuff, and I had to speed up, I really, that's where the best work is in those pages. Even though I think the first 4 pages are really, really stellar as far as storytelling wise. It was a horror character called Killer 99, and he was basically the Jason Voorhees, Michael Myers type. Just kind of lumber along. You run away, but you don't keep going. You go into the barn. And next thing you know, he knows you're there. So uh, I didn't really have the right approach. If I had to do it all over again, I really would have pulled way out and then just kept shrinking every time you spotted him, he's like, oh my God, how did he get that close? You know what I mean? So you create that sort of effect visually. And so I didn't do a lot of the things that I came up with later because it's inexperience. You can draw like, I can draw pretty pictures all the time, all
Yeah.
day long. But storytelling, and I knew it was going to be tough because I had turned down 4 or 5 horror projects, even with pro writers. That it's not my thing, man. I don't like, if you don't love to get up and do it, you're really gonna suffer through it. So it was,
Yeah.
I had to kind of find my approach.
Yeah.
I did it, and I think I did somewhere along the way. There's some things about it, like I said, that I would change, but it's just a matter of turning on that cinematic brain and going, okay, how do you do this visually? What would the storyboards look like if you did this as a movie? And they would have been, Jason way back there, real small. And then as every time you saw him, he's getting bigger, but you can still see traces of where he was and where he's heading, things like that. And again,
Yeah.
but I don't think I would turn anything. Now that I've done this a while and done some professional work, I don't think I'd turn anything down because I would now look at it like challenge. You got to learn. You want to get better. You got to learn to do. Don't turn it down. Say yes. Anything that the adage of, if you really hate it, well, when they ask you your price, you up it and you
Yeah.
get out of it. But I don't think I would do that anymore. I think I would go, "Ooh, that's not my wheelhouse. I'll try it."
Yeah.
To see if I can. Because the one thing I've done with Florida Man is I found an approach. I found how I wanted to tell this story, and the script is all there. Everything I need is there, but I had to find, like, don't skimp an inch. Put things in the background. that people are going to love to see. Hide Easter eggs, put Sam and Dean and their Plymouth in the background, whatever. And it's going to be in there. If there's, as I go along with the script and see, okay, what can I do here? What can I do there? I'm going to put it in there. And people are going to go, oh my God, that's El Pollo Loco, or the chicken place from Breaking Bad.
Yeah.
They're going to notice, and they're just
Yeah.
going to go, wow, that's cool. And that's kind of neat he did that.
You need to find your language of how you approach it, and it's like from a storytelling point of view, what will excite the reader and all that. And what people that don't make comics don't realize is like the amount of work that goes into it. It's like you, in the first place, you got to love what you're doing, but at the end of the day, it becomes work, because it's a lot of just tedious work to connect the lines and finish the project and get it done and get it out there. But and I'm sure you love every minute of it, and it's like your life joy to be working on these projects, and that's a good thing.
I tell you what, my influences, right,
Okay.
are storytellers. Guys that I gravitated towards were storytellers. Butch Geis,
Yeah.
Lee Weeks,
Yeah.
Rick Nardi.
Yeah.
Not some of those guys not always flashy, or Rick Leonardi had a very different style, but very really really good storytelling. Steve Epting,
Yeah.
great. The Velvet Book, it's a master class. Tom Coker,
Yeah.
Monday Murder Mysteries, master class on how to make comics. It's all right there. Storytelling, scene setting, palette, everything is there. The some characters are only seen in certain hues. It's a great book. So I have always been drawn towards the aspect of storytelling. If you look at my feeds of all my social media, you don't see me drawing Wolverine every day or any of that. I've always been drawn to drawing my own characters, working on the concepts or whatever it is. Occasionally, you might see something like that. You see me playing with color. I took some color classes. I took one with Chris Sotomayor at a Comics Experience. I took a couple online classes, Mike K. Russell. So I'm trying to learn how to do it all, but I'm really trying to be a really good storyteller.
Yeah. It's I always thought, like, you were speaking of Joe Quesada before. He is still like, I really love his work, and a lot of that is because of his storytelling and what he puts on a page, and he makes a story entertaining above and beyond what's written on the page. And that's the goal of the artist. Like you mentioned, Lee Weeks, big fan of his work. His is, he's awesome at creating mood. Rick Leonardi, I think without a doubt, like, I don't go for alternatives of the same character a lot. Like, there's 18 million Spider-Mans at this point, but I love Spider-Man 2099 because of Rick Leonardi. That was such an excellent run. Not to mention, Peter David doing an excellent job writing it, and Al Williamson doing a phenomenal job inking it. Rick's work was outstanding on that. It really punched that story up every time.
Yeah.
And P. Craig Russell is one of my heroes. Not many people will remember back in the day a book called Kill Raven, which was essentially War of the Worlds type story with a lot of interesting characters. That was just some really fun comics to read, and just I drooled over the artwork. Mike Grell was another hero of mine. Warlord and Yeah, just a bunch of characters he created. Dreadstar, you mentioned before, I think.
Right.
Um, and yeah, it's just, I mean, there's so many masters in this industry, and you could spend years studying them all. You know,
There's actually guys who, like, you say a guy, and I'll go, oh, I look for him. When I go to him when I need battle, I need uh, close in fighting. I need Alan Davis for that.
yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right,
There's guys that go for, well, they get the good mood and they do great faces and this and that. Excellent at storytelling. This, you know, I mean, for instance, one of the top creators in the industry right now, Sean Gordon Murphy. When he
yep,
first came out, I really wasn't into the noses and the things that he was doing. Uh, uh, like Constantine and American Vampire, I think it was. He grew on me, right? Grew on me. Then you start to see these long shots and chases and how he's approaching those things, and you're like, God damn! Every little nook and cranny of the Batcave is there. It's like, for instance, okay, here's another idea of what I'm talking about. Walt Simonson made me love Thor, but
right,
Oliver BL made me believe Thor.
right,
He did it so well, and such nuances there, and the art was amazing. Where he was taking me was excellent. The fighting, the choreograph fights, and the blocking of the characters, he made me believe Thor, really. So that's kind of it. Walt Simonson, a legend, made me love Thor. Excellent artist, top in his field.
yeah.
Oliver Copiel comes along and does Thor, and just boom, mind blown.
Speaking of Walt, my favorite movie adapted into comic form was Alien, that was drawn by Walt Simonson.
Mm-hmm.
That was phenomenal stuff, and it's like, back in the day when they did that over and over and over, it was all crap until like that came along. Then Mike Mignola did Dracula, comic book version. Um,
Tops.
yeah, that was good stuff.
Yeah.
Um, so I think we should wrap this up soon. So if we didn't cover anything, now's your chance.
Okay, let me say this. Florida Man will not leave you disappointed. Mike Barron, legendary writer, creator of Nexus, Badger, wrote Punisher, long run on Punisher. When he was finally given his own #1, I think there were 2 limited series, and then boom, he gets his own #1. Mike Barron, Klaus Janson, you can't beat it, right? Um, let's see what else. Oh, Flash run that he had. So look, I'm nobody, right? I'm just the guy. Hopefully you go look and you go, well, this art is serviceable. I like this art. Mike Barron, he's legendary. And you know
Yeah,
what? He's never written a book that I hated. Hated.
right.
Never. Always wrote a good story. He grabs you by the throat, pulls you into the narrative. I'm telling you, you'll be surprised. If I can pull all these things off visually, then you're gonna go, oh my god, this Todd guy, this story is amazing. He pulled it off because it's all on me now. I got to do all the heavy lifting. Scripts delivered. I got it. We're good. We're funded. I got to do the rest from here. And please, Lord, let me make this the most awesome book possible. If you go look at the pages that are up on the campaign, they're really well thought out. I'm telling you a good story. I don't skimp on backgrounds because I don't want to give the colors. When you skimp on backgrounds, right, you make the colors go, geez, I got to make choices. I try not to give them those choices. Hey, this looks like marble. It's marble. Hey, this is a background. This is a bookcase. Well, books are on it. You leave that open, a character on an isolated background. Now he's going, God, what do I do? What color? How do I choose this? And I've done this because I've had to color other people's work. I've colored my own work, and you go, that's where I learned. Like, do not skimp. Do put things in the background. Doesn't matter what it is, props or whatever. Give the person the choices to make. Create something that where okay, there's a light bulb there, or so that you can create some mood and some shadow. create some focus. So if I pull it all off, this is going to be an epic book. And guess what? I'm going to.
Cool. Well, I look forward to seeing things develop with the campaign and with your career and follow along. Like I mentioned, I'll put all your links down below the video so people can go check it out. We're this is the first video in a long time on this channel, so we had some people show up. I want to mention Crimson Owl Comics said hi everyone. So he was the only one who was brave enough to comment. But as we do more interviews on this channel and as the channel grows, it's definitely a place where people, us independent creators can come and get their voice heard. Obviously, the Facebook group is over 2,000 people now, and that's like if you want to join that group and post your work there, that's an excellent place. People go there every day to check out what's going on in the industry because that's where it's at. So thank you very much.
I was going to say, when we're at the end,
yeah,
and or by the way, if you want Mike Barron, I can get him. But when we're at the end, maybe we come back and we can shoot the breeze again a little bit about the campaign, how it went, and where I'm at that point. Because today is the day. Once we got to past the 50 waypoints, okay, I got to start drawing. We went from that point to where we are inside 24 hours. So tomorrow's knuckle down day.
Yeah. I will mention Mike Barron is on YouTube, and I have watched a couple of his videos in the past, and he's an awesome guy. Yeah, definitely.
Just let me know if you want to get somebody like him on to help get the subs up and get more people watching.
Yeah, for sure. So your friend Bleeding Fool, it says great interview, guys.
Thanks, Chris.
Yeah, awesome. So thank you everybody for watching. Give it a like, subscribe if you haven't. We'll be back again with more interviews and in the future some creative hangouts. So look forward to that. Thank you, Todd. Thank you, everyone. Take care.
Back Florida, man.